SnowTrax is sponsored by Ski-Doo Snowmobiles, Yamaha, conquers snow, and by FXR Racing, full throttle addiction.
When Milt Reimer set out to build more functional snowmobile gear over 20 years ago, it was because at the time he couldn't find any type of gear that worked the way he wanted it to when he was riding. 20 years later, FXR has grown into a multinational company manufacturing and shipping all over the world.
So FXR actually started in concept, not in name, probably in 92 or 93. I'd started racing snowmobiles, and I'm going, none of this gear works. This is all just sort of corporate wear. I might as well be wearing a Freightliner or a Mac tool jacket out there. It has no functions, and during this time from 1980 to 1990, I worked as a mechanic. And just by chance, as I was going shopping for hats from my dealership, I walked in and there was no hats almost on the premise. I ended up talking to a designer and pattern maker inside, and we started just chatting back and forth. And he said, I think we could do a product like this. And so he brought the two owners in, and they said, hey, you know, we would love to try this. By the fall of '96, I think we had our first product we sold in November from a short production run we did. So through that process, we really were able to establish the brand as a racing brand first, and then we used that to develop our trail apparel. And it all started with race sponsorships. And I had a small 14 by 14 office I created in the basement of my house, and I was running the dealership. I hired a manager to run the dealership for me and started just entirely focusing and concentrating my efforts on FXR development. Carla, my wife, was very tolerant of that whole process and could be quite engaged, especially in selling the product as we'd get orders in. And she was very instrumental in helping us through that intensely difficult winter season. We were in our basement 7 years, and then we moved into an office on the yard. And we moved in there 3 people, and we ended up 17, 18 people in there, and then it's only 4 years ago now that we moved into our location where we currently are here in Oak Bluff.
But those are just the humble beginnings of a much larger story. As Milt grew the FXR brand, sales increased, and it quickly became clear much greater manufacturing capabilities were needed.
The dollar had really risen dramatically, and we needed to go to Asia. My partner in Asia is Brian Kim, and he was so instrumental in the next phase of our growth. Because FXR was so complex, none of the agencies wanted to work with us because our product line was so wide. They wanted us to build one women's jacket, one men's jacket, and pants to match, and then build 50,000 of those in each. So we were trying to build a product line that really could hit all of those niche areas of riding and then follow the good trends and build that up. And we needed our own agency to be able to do that. So Brian then has been running our operation there, I think, since '08, and we have established an incredible facility in Asia. Seoul, Korea is where our head office is. Everything is designed here, right in our office here, and with our team. And then our spec department handles all the specifications and the details to make sure that our Asian office understands what we want. We're producing product in 11 different countries and 45 different factories to make this happen. Our logistics department is just phenomenal, shipping over 400 containers around the world. As we hit 20 years, we're really seeing the people that run those departments, they're doing such a phenomenal job. Our dealer network is doing a phenomenal job, and we just were going like, man, we have to celebrate this.
To commemorate the 20th anniversary of FXR, Milt decided to host a party for all of his dealers and industry partners. It was piggybacked on his annual dealer show in Winnipeg, Manitoba. The culmination of the event was a rooftop party in downtown Winnipeg. An outdoor display showcased a number of Milt's snowmobile projects, and a full-on 2017 FXR fashion show highlighted the evening. I'm very proud to say that all of us here at SnowTrax have worked with Milt and FXR since the very beginning. We have seen him grow his company in almost unbelievable ways, but the truth is, the heart and soul of FXR remains exactly the same as it was 20 years ago, and we think this has played a huge role in the company's success.
SnowTrax is sponsored by MBRP Performance Exhaust, lightweight performance.
Milt's got a whole fleet of sleds that he's been tinkering with over the past couple seasons. He's got at least one sled from each manufacturer that he's been developing wide front end kits for. Milt sees that there's sort of a gap in the handling characteristics of snowmobiling these days. He sees that they're not doing what he would like them to do for the way he rides. So he's trying to work that out in his own way with these Trick aftermarket kits. He's been working with other companies and partners in the project, and they look super cool, but I think the proof will really be in the ride.
So there's a lot of things that we're evolving, and through all of that, you end up sort of back to where we started 20 years ago when I was actually racing and thinking that I wanted to make performance parts. And so that part of the fun and the passion of building and riding a sled is really the core fun I think that a lot of us have. Through the course of the last few years now, we've partnered with some of the premium aftermarket companies and started building some project sleds. And every brand is represented. And we build these sleds kind of right now with the root experience of trail riding and performance trail. FXR has trademarked the name Factory Ride, and right now our sleds are built with under that name. They're Factory Ride and 121s or 129s. We're really focusing on the short track sleds, and because what I like, and everybody who's racing cross country, you don't want the front end to push when you're coming out of the corner under full throttle. It's all about that type of user experience. We've been engineering a few specific changes into the sleds and working with Skins. They've developed wider front ends for us from 45 to we have a Skidoo with a 49-inch front end, lowering the center of gravity, making the A-arm structure and the front structure stronger to be more stable in turns, increasing sway bar strength, and where people are a lot of the time are disconnecting sway bars, we're going and making them stiffer again like they used to be.
Milt really wants an honest opinion of these sled kits that he's developing. He wants to know how they work for the average rider, where average riders ride. So the first place I wanted to go was to a trail. It was beautiful. The trails were a lot like what I ride at home. They were wide, some tight sections with really tight twists. There was some long sweeping corners, some really fast straightaways. It was a great spot to ride. My first impression of the sleds riding here was that the wide front end has got merit, and obviously wider is better and will make a sled handle more stable. But I think that the ski choices for each sled are maybe too aggressive for this location, and probably the first thing I suggested to Milt to do was cut back on the aggressiveness of the ski, maybe try going back to stock skis versus CNAs and see how that feels. That might lighten up the front end and make them easier to steer, and then you'd really be able to appreciate the width, the extra width that they offer. We really wanted to get a well-rounded impression of Milt's new sleds and the changes that he's made on the front end of these sleds. So we felt we needed to take them to just more than one location or ride them in more than one scenario. And we headed out onto a section of trail that really offered everything from trails to a river section. We managed to find some deep snow out on a lake somewhere, and we found a ditch section we could do some playing in. And it really offered a little bit of everything that would let us know in general, how do these sleds work? And they worked really good here. The wide front end definitely worked, hitting jumps. It made the sled very stable, and it gave me just another little glimpse into what these sleds would be like in the real world.
And all I know is I'm having a lot of fun, and I know that other people, as they ride them and look at the sleds, they can see the passion. It doesn't matter how fast you're going. You know, if you're out there and enjoying it, that's the key. And life's way too short not to have fun. Life's way too short to live in black and white.
SnowTrax is sponsored by Snowmobile in Quebec. Experience a ride you'll never forget.
If you thought 2003 and 2008 were big model years for Skidoo, we've got news that's going to set you back on your heels. The all-new Gen 4 Rev. There is so much new to cover here, you better take notes. Skidoo has raised the bar again in model year 2017 with the introduction of the completely new 850 Gen 4 platform. The all-new chassis and 137 and 129-inch lengths further improves mass centralization by centering, side to side, the ultra-narrow 850 engine in the chassis. This means the engine has moved to the right by using an ultra-narrow stator and the all-new revolutionary roller tower P-drive clutch. Both these changes shave overall engine width. Get this, the new Gen 4 chassis uses an all-new, ultra-rigid cast aluminum bulkhead. Bolted to it is an RAS3 double A-arm independent front suspension with updated geometry and a 1-inch bump in ski travel. Need to catch your breath yet? Hang on, there's way more going on with this groundbreaking, paradigm-shifting chassis. The cast bulkhead is attached to a new pyramidal tunnel using an unusual heat exchanger that's smooth, not finned, and is actually structural, forming the entire top of the tunnel. Only a few items have remained from the former XS Rev platform. One of them is the R-Motion rear skid. However, even the R-Motion receives some subtle tweaks for use in the Gen 4 Rev. The reworking of the bulkhead area to centralize mass both front to back and side to side allows a substantial slimming of the Gen 4's overall frontal area. The sled is narrower by almost 4 inches, and the nose appears just a little shorter as well. Is your head spinning yet? Better take a deep breath, because we've got to talk about our favorite subject, power. Bam! The Gen 4 chassis introduces an all-new, top-to-bottom, 850cc Rotax e-tec Siamese cylinder twin that makes, by Skidoo's own admission, 165 horsepower. Second-generation e-tec injectors are lighter and more efficient, and new electronic-activated triple-stage rave valves improve efficiency while increasing power down low. There's way more going on here, but we've got to cover the broad strokes in this report. Get this, Skidoo's pitch for this new engine is as bold as it is shocking. Skidoo is claiming that this is the first two-stroke snowmobile engine to be as durable, long-lasting, and reliable as a four-stroke. Aluminum pistons with cast iron ring lands are first for a two-stroke. Diesel-style oil nozzles spray lube directly on bottom-end crank and rod bearings, which are affixed to a three-piece forged, not built-up crankshaft. The marine-style crank and improved oiling are all aimed at delivering big mile durability. By the way, the crank is lightened by 2 pounds compared to the Series 3 800. You want to know how this sled goes, right? In a word, the sled is flat out amazing. It is faster than any normally aspirated production snowmobile we've ever ridden. Finally, it's Yamaha's turn to take over the spotlight. And believe me, the Big Y has got big news. Yamaha's cooperative manufacturing and engine supply relationship with Arctic Cat goes from Viper-friendly to Sidewinder mean. Like the thought of a turbo four-stroke, the new Yamaha Sidewinder is going to make friends with turbo crazies and a whole new group of buyers who might not have ever considered a turbocharged snowmobile. The new Yamaha 998 Triple, a close cousin but not mechanically identical to the beloved 1049, receives a purpose-built, highly sophisticated boosted intake and intercooler, netting, and are you sitting down? An openly bragged about and ridiculously robust 180 horsepower. Let's make this clear right now. The Sidewinder is a missile. It pulls harder and goes faster, way past the C note than any modern snowmobile, including all the 2017s we've covered here, save the Arctic Cat Thundercat, for obvious reasons. The new Genesis Turbo uses state-of-the-art tech to deliver its imposing power. The engine is cutting edge in every measurable way. The Turbo does not use a traditional noisy and somewhat jerky blow-off valve, but rather redirects overboosted air back into the compressor to be reused. This makes for seamless on and off throttle transitions, which produce a very automotive feel. The entire turbocharger and engine package is a work of art, displaying myriad purpose-built parts and plumbing. The new Sidewinder-specific bodywork is leaner than the Viper's and uses proprietary quarter-turn fasteners to allow for complete side panel and hood removal in seconds. There is a plethora of Sidewinders for 2017, offering the Turbo package in 129, 137, 141, and full-on mountain lengths. We'll leave you with this thought. The Sidewinder is not just about amazing power. It signals a new and deeper level of Yamaha Arctic Cat integration. The Sidewinder exudes quality and attention to detail. Honestly, the sled is nothing short of impressive. There you have it, an admittedly quick tour of what's new and exciting for model year 2017. Keep tuning in to SnowTrax Television and reading SuperTrax magazine to learn more about what's new for model year 2017.
SnowTrax is sponsored by Princess Auto, A unique world of equipment, tools, and more. Closed captioning of SnowTrax is sponsored by Triton Trailer, built for adventure.
The adventure segment is the newest genre of snowmobiles in the snowmobile industry. It's interesting to note that both Polaris and Arctic Cat jumped in at exactly the same time, about 4 model years ago. On this week's test ride, we're going to analyze the second generation Polaris Axis Adventure Switchback. Let's not mix any words here. The Axis platform is a paradigm shifter for Polaris and the entire industry. Its second generation Pro XC external shock rear skid with Fox QS3s is oh so close to Skidoo's R-Motion, it's hardly worth mentioning. The complete chassis is rigid, strong, and produces what we consider to be the best handling qualities in the biz. Oh, consider this. The Axis is now among the lightest trail platforms in most of its variants. So why wouldn't Polaris take their already successful adventure package straight to the Axis platform? The attributes that make the Axis head and shoulders better than the previous Pro Ride make the Adventure that much more capable. You might be saying, capable of what? Here's where the adventure genre gets tricky. We won't pull any punches here. The definitive adventure sled, specifically the Skidoo Enduro, the Arctic Cat Crosstrek, and the Yamaha L TX-DX, are essentially 137-inch performance crossover sleds with high windshields, heated everything, mirrors, rear cargo storage, rear racks, and a tubular front bumper. Maybe you're asking yourself, except for the front bumper, isn't this sled exactly what we used to call a gentleman cruiser? You know, like Skidoo's gone but not forgotten GSX line? If you're asking that question, you're in good company. Because so have we. Here's what Polaris and Arctic Cat started. The gentleman cruiser thing was getting old. The genre was sort of emasculated. Look up emasculated in your Funkin' Wagnall and you'll pick up what I'm putting down. Adventure touring sleds are hairy-chested, tough guy rides, fully prepared to go off-trail, cruise some flatland POW, and haul your fruit of the looms on an overnight tour. Oh yeah, this tubular front bumper is like totally masculine. But let's get back to the meat and potatoes of this test ride, the Polaris Axis Switchback platform. The Adventure is a nicely optioned out Axis 800 switchback, and that is, as they say, all good. This engine and chassis combo have been rocking the market since they arrived last year. The Axis Switchback is as good a crossover sled as this industry produces. With a 1.352 by 137-inch out back, this lightened chassis can navigate deep snow with ease. The success of the 800 Axis Switchback is about more than just a new chassis. The integration of the ridiculously powerful, quick revving, lake shredding 800 Liberty HO is key to any description of the 800 Switchback. I hope I'm making it clear the new 800 is fast. Don't attempt to equate what I'm saying here in the context of the former 800, or you'll miss the point. The old 800 was rumbly, somewhat lethargic, and hard on fuel. The HO uses triple-stage exhaust valves, a 2.5-pound lighter crankshaft, and an electric oil pump to boost acceleration, top speed, and both fuel and oil mileage. One more thing, the HO is building a bulletproof reputation. The Axis brings improved ergos to the Switchback Adventure platform in model year 16. The flat-top seat is exceptionally comfortable, and the slightly forward ergos further centralize mass. It's easier and more natural to move around on the Axis. We would be remiss if we didn't mention the Adventure's Fox QS3 dampers and the unusual air-adjustable external rear shock. The Adventure is the only place you'll find QS3s at Polaris this year. Let's make this clear. These are outstanding dampers which effectively propel the Axis Pro XC rear skid to a near tie with Skidoo's R-Motion. Start your ride in position number 1, full soft. Click into number 2 if the bumps deepen. If things go sideways and square edge your surface, head for number 3. It's so simple and so effective, we wonder why it took so long to figure shock clickers out. The air spring assisted rear QS3 shock allows for the extra weight of a passenger when the optional passenger seat is snapped in place. The Axis Pro XC external shock rear skid is the only uncoupled suspension in this segment. The return to throttle-induced weight transfer from the imposing thrust of the 800 HO is exhilarating, and you will quickly find yourself addicted to the ski-lifting surge of power an uncoupled skid produces. The sled carries its skis past 50 per and stays light up front, pulling the C-note down Kevlar Lake. These trends could present problems with inside ski lift if the Axis chassis wasn't rider reactive. Simply slide ahead when you get on the gas to control weight transfer effortlessly. Adventure sleds are here to stay, and we're standing and applauding their arrival, particularly the arrival of the Axis Adventure Switchback 800 HO.
SnowTrax has been sponsored by Polaris Terrain Domination, Arctic Cat, share our passion, and by Ontario Highlands, come wander.
If you enjoyed the video that you just saw, like it and then subscribe to our page for more great content from SnowTrax TV.